What are we doing? This team is probably the first one to lose.
Get ready for the 3-point stance. 3 different minds, 3 different opinions. 3 dudes talking ball. It's Kenton. It's Jay. It's Zach. Time to bring the heat, boys.
And thank you for listening to us and making your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers. This video is presented by our partners at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. He's Kenton Gibbs. I am Jay Smith. Zach Blackerby is out today, but we got some great topics for you. Why aren't we talking about Indiana more? Well, the SEC have a lot of playoff teams, and does it make sense? But we're going to lead off today's show with a good question. Which undefeated team will be the first one to drop? Kenton, we have 5 teams left that are undefeated. We have Army, we have Miami, we have BYU, Indiana, and Oregon. Looking at these schedules, who do you think has the most likely chance to lose first before the season ends? Oh, you're on mute.
I know this is going to be nasty business because and see, that's the Zach Blackerby lobby trying to mute me and silence me because I was going to tell everybody that he was out because he ain't take no Z-biotic. You know, he got a little too. She made us drinks to drink. We drunk them, got drunk. But that didn't hit on that. Now, the reality of this thing is I love what he has done. And I know many people are going to say I just hate Indiana because I linked them to Florida State and Locked On ACC. But Coach Sig and that squad, they're amazing. They're phenomenal. They're punching above their weight class. And don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. They are dominating teams. They are whipping the wheels off teams. Coach Sig called this in the preseason when nobody else believed. He called his shot at Big Ten Media Days. He has by far outperformed anything we could have imagined. Not arguing that. When do they have Ohio State?
They have Ohio State in 3 weeks. They've got them on the 23rd, the weekend before Thanksgiving.
That's the loss. That's the loss right there. Listen, I don't take joy in this, okay? I would love to be wrong here. I kid you not. I am a proud member of the best fraternity in the world that was founded at IU, okay? Our y'all logo looks like a sign. I love me some Bloomington, Indiana. With that being said, I don't see a world where this team beats Ohio State. I just don't see a world where that happens.
So that weekend is pretty interesting because Army takes on Notre Dame at home that weekend as well. So that sounds like you're saying is a possibility that we could see 2 undefeateds go down. This weekend, we have Miami taking on Georgia Tech. As an ACC guy, you see Miami going through Georgia Tech on the road, no problem?
I would say not no problem, but they do go through Georgia Tech on the road. They've had a lot of injury situations going on with Haynes King, and I'm going to tell you this much.
True.
If Zach Pyron got to step a foot in that game, those Yellow Jackets are cooked. Those boys are cooked. I'll tell you what, Cam Ward going to be in Magic City by 4 p.m. if Pyron has to play in this game. You understand me? For those of you who don't know what Magic City is, don't Google it on the family computer. So with that in mind, I really and truly believe, the reality is Miami's defense is abysmal at times. They look like they couldn't stop a runny nose with Robitussin, tissue, all of the vaccines that have ever been invented. Exactly. They look like they can't stop it at times. But the other part of that, their offense looks like they can't be stopped by the U.S. military, okay? They look like they just roll downhill, and when they get to trucking, it's nobody who can stop. When Cam Ward is working his Cam Ward magic, I referred to them as having plot armor yesterday. And that plot armor's name is Cameron Jarkevius Ward. You understand me? I don't know if his middle name is actually Jarkevius.
But I love it. I love the way you added that in there.
But in all seriousness, I think that they have no problem with Georgia Tech because one team has Cam Ward, the other team does not.
No, that's a fair point. And looking at Miami's schedule with Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse to end the season, they probably have a really good chance. I don't think Georgia Tech or Wake Forest are built to stop them. Syracuse may be a challenge because Fran Brown is building something special, but at the same time, I don't think they're cooked yet. They're not all the way.
Yeah.
They're not all the way done. They still got time to prepare in the oven. But Cam Ward, I'm honestly surprised that he has still played this good throughout the season. Every year that I followed him, even at Incarnate Word, he had a massive upswing through the middle of the season, and then things tinkered down. I feared that against Duke initially, but shoot, he shut me up by showing out late in that game. Then you got BYU. They've got Utah this weekend at Utah, which is, of course, a rivalry game.
The Holy War.
The Holy War is back. I'm so glad to see that it's made its valiant return. I guess the question is, Utah's struggling. They fired their offensive coordinator, resigned. He got fired on his day off. Probably was still in boxes. So the question is, can Utah actually show up and get up for BYU? BYU's only a 4-point favorite in this game. That's the crazy part.
The crazier part is that Ezell stole those boxes in the beginning of Friday, and we all saw it, but Craig got blamed for it. But let me tell you something. Craig, the senior quarterback, we talk about Cam Ward, who's been doing this thing balling all year. We got to talk about the flip side. Cam Rising has been Cam falling all year. He has been out for quite some time. He has looked rough even when he did play. This Utah offense has looked disjointed, looked disfigured. And here's the thing. I think Whittingham really is an amazing coach. I really do. I think he's a phenomenal coach. With that being said, I don't think that this Holy War is much of a war because I can't remember where I heard this quote at, but it was a movie in which I was watching. They said, a war implies that there are two sides with an equal chance of winning. BYU is going to roll in this game. Don't be surprised if it gets worse than 14.
Ooh, you expect that to be a shellacking.
Yes, they going to take those boys out to the woodshed, spank those babies, put them to sleep.
Big yikes. That's a wild proclamation there. I don't know if BYU has it. I mean, being only a 4-point favorite on the road gives me a little pause, gives me a little concern, makes me wonder.
Just out of curiosity, how much was BYU a favorite against UCF?
UCF game? Oh, they weren't. They were dogs.
They weren't the favorite. Okay, how much did they win
by? They won by a touchdown. No, I'm sorry, 13. They got by 13. They beat them by 13, double digits. So no, points valid. Points valid. It still makes me wonder.
The Sharks don't respect. The Sharks do not respect BYU for some reason, and I'm gonna ride them boys. I'm gonna ride that money train all the way home. Okay, them boys listen. I don't have to pay for the hair treatments the way you do, Jay. I don't have to pay for that. But I do got to pay to look fresh. So don't worry about it. The next sport coach y'all see me in is going to be purchased by BYU rolling in the Holy War.
So you think they're going to roll. Okay, so Indiana, Oregon, both of their schedules. Oregon's schedule looks favorable. Oregon has Maryland, Wisconsin, and then wrapping up with Washington at home. Old Pac-12 rivalry. And Washington's been, they've been fighting. They just took down who they just take down literally this past week. I'm going to sleep
on that schedule.
You're going to sleep on the schedule? They just took down USC and they're about to play at Happy Valley against Penn State this weekend. You don't think that Washington can be a formidable opponent against Oregon?
Somebody bring me my binky and my good napping blankie as well.
Wow.
Bring me both. Because I need that good sleep. You know that sleep that babies do where they sleep like they've been working the 16-hour shift at the plant. I need that sleep. That's how hard I'm sleeping on this. Damn, no, Washington ain't formidable. Formidable for whom? For what purpose? Formidable for what?
They know each other.
Yeah, okay.
In some capacity.
All right.
I mean, it is new coaching staff, but I digress.
Kalen DeBoer ain't walking through that door. Michael Penix ain't walking through that door. I'm sorry to tell you, but Roma Dungy ain't walking through that door. There are too many guys that are just not coming back. Okay? Wow. That's, again, the rest of that Oregon schedule, those boys are going to cook. Congratulations, Dan Lanning, on your first undefeated regular season. You did it.
Wow. Well, Indiana wraps up their season with Michigan this week, bye week at Ohio State, and then Purdue. So you think Ohio State's the game where Indiana falls?
The shoe is where they fall. The shoe. I think they beat Michigan. Michigan is physical as hell, but so are they. They are much more physical than I would have given them credit for coming into the season. And here's the thing, right? This team can put up points in a flash. Sig has that offense cooking with oil, with grease, with all the things, with flour. They're making a good roux over there in Indiana. Okay. Now, I'm telling you, with that in mind, this Indiana team, I don't think they have what it takes to go into the shoe and win one. If it was in Bloomington, I might feel a little different. But going into the shoe against a team that knows, hey, this is a make or break moment for us with national perception. Because don't get me wrong, I think they can still get into the playoff with a loss to Indiana and a loss to Oregon being their only two losses. And mind you, that means you got two 12-0 Big Ten teams that their only losses would be to. But still, for Ryan Day's sake, he is coaching for his job. And you know what it means if Ryan Day is coaching for his job? Chip Kelly's coaching for his job. And if Chip Kelly's coaching for his job, guess what can be said of the defensive coordinator? He's coaching for his job.
Jim Knowles is as well. Yeah.
So everybody in that situation is fighting, scrapping, claw for everything they got. Indiana, meanwhile, is playing with the church's money. They are. They $2 million up, so they all right. They'll be okay.
All right. Well, we're going to talk more about Indiana in a minute, but we've got to ask the question, can the SEC get 4 teams into the playoffs? We'll talk about that in a second here on the 3-Point Stance. Hey, 3-Point Stance fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we pulled over 20,000 support to players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change. With the Roy app, you can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to specific players you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your sport is going. You can even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. The best part, it's risk-free. If the athlete transfer doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. This week, we are supporting here on the channel Kurtis Rourke over there at Indiana. He had a massive game this past week. He threw for 263 yards, 4 touchdowns in that win over Michigan State to prove that they're doing it. So we just pitched in $100, and I'd love for you to join me. Even $10 makes a difference. Let's show Kurtis Rourke the love and support and keep him connected with Indiana. Remember, pay today, celebrate tomorrow. Your support sets your teams up for success. So download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscription fees and no subscriptions and no fees. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Roy_return_on_you for more information. Roy, support the players, change the game. And next up, this video is sponsored by our partners over at FanDuel. All right, Kenton, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win your bet. So here's a couple spreads. Let me ask you this one. All right, we've got Ohio State's a 37.5-point favorite against Purdue. Can Ohio State cover that?
Yeah, they can, but I'm not sure they will. Anytime you get over 35, it gets dicey because who knows whether or not you're going to pull your starters at halftime or, whatever the case may be. Although Ryan Day may say, hey, we need to lay it on them thick because in-conference points matter. I think that they're going to pull them, but I'm not sure. I would stay away from this one, but if I had to bet, give me Ohio State. Come on.
What about Texas minus 21.5 over Florida?
No lag way, no way. Give me Texas rolling over them boys. Hook them just like Texas Longhorn superfan Jay Smith would say.
Army, 5.5-point favorite at North Texas. We'll wrap up with that since you want to be disrespectful. You think they got it?
I think they take it over the Mean Green by a touchdown. I got Army.
Okay. Well, you can jump into the action as well. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check the stats, view live play-by-play, so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll start with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. And thank you for making the 3-Point Stance your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out the College Football Show with Spencer McLaughlin. Kenton, let's talk about the SEC. The SEC right now has 8 teams ranked in the top 25. We will get the college football playoff rankings this week, and honestly, I anticipate there's still to be 8 teams in that ranking. Can the SEC push 4 teams into the playoffs?
They can, but should they? Hell no. Let's be honest about this thing, right? If you had to name 4 teams from the SEC to get in, name it for me, Jay. Since you're a long-standing member of the SEC, name the 4.
As a long-standing member of the SEC, if I would have to pick 4 today, it would have to be Georgia, Texas A&M, Tennessee, probably Texas, and they make an argument probably for Alabama, but I'd say those 4 are your top 4 there.
Okay, now let's get into that for a bit, okay? So Alabama is an argument for them. You mean the team that lost to Vanderbilt? That one? We've got an argument for that.
I didn't say I would make an argument. I said they would.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was just making sure. So you said Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, and who else?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. Okay, the Aggies that just lost to South Carolina.
Probably, depending if they make it. I don't know. Look, right now in the top 10, you have, actually in the top 7, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas. They're fighting for it. And LSU is starting to make a move up or whatnot. But the good thing is that a lot of these teams will play each other. So it'll play itself out. But the question is a 3-loss SEC team going to make the playoffs?
They shouldn't. In theory, they should not. But I have
agree.
A strange feeling. I got a feeling the 4th team is going to get a bid. Let me tell you something. The reality is simple on this thing, okay? The SEC is viewed as like these demigods to where it's like, hey, when we lose to one another, it's not a bad loss. That team's just good. Yeah. As opposed to every other conference. In the Big Ten, if you lose to a Big Ten team, it's like, oh, man, that's a tough loss. How dare you lose to an inferior opponent? In the ACC, don't even get me started. Oh, my God, if you lose in the ACC, your head is off. You're done for the year. And in the Big 12, the conference that long-standing SEC members apparently fled from, boy, you could win out, and they'll still look at you funny. They'll still look at you. You don't know about this BYU team. Who are they? Why?
Yeah, they are being disrespected. I'll be honest.
BYU has some of the most quality wins in America. You beat up an SMU team that has not lost since. Ain't lost a game since they played you.
And they've been cooking everybody in the ACC. Like they came to the SEC and said, we're taking this conference. This is ours now.
Hello? They said, we're going to walk in your trap. And this is now the SMU pony trap. Thank you very much.
Y'all was keeping the seat warm for us. We appreciate that.
Hey, Florida State, you don't have to eat that dog, dude. You can just take your L's in peace. Hey there, Miami. We see you. We think you're living life too dangerously. We'll address that in a few weeks. But I'll spare you this time. That's random acts of kindness. So, I really and truly do look at this situation and say, will the SEC get 4 in? Yes. Do they have great teams in the SEC, by the way? Let me not pretend like, there are not multiple great teams. Everybody from Tennessee up, phenomenal. Listen, I'm not going to play around with you, okay? I'm not going to play around with you. Everybody from Tennessee up is phenomenal. Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, phenomenal. LSU shows sparks. They show flashes of phenomenal. I don't think they're consistent enough to say you belong in the playoff. Because, again, I think that the game should matter, and you should have to earn it. You should have to show, hey, I am one of the best 12 teams in the nation in order to get in. And now to think that we'll see a 3-loss team, that means that 3 times, a fourth of your season, you went out on the field and were not the better team. 25% of your season. And that's a playoff team? Come on now. Come on.
But see, the thing about it, the losses, of course, even the argument for Bama, they lost to Tennessee on the road and they lost to Vanderbilt on the road. But they beat Georgia earlier in the season.
Okay. What's that?
I mean, is the argument that we should show the best teams in college football or the ones with the best records only?
But that's when we're defining best. What are we saying? Are we saying best is the highest peak, or is best the most consistent? Is best who can show up and do it every Saturday? I'm sorry. I can't give you Pete. Jay, you a grown man. You do grown man things, okay? Me and you and me both, we got a little bit of experience in life. Now, let me ask you something, Jay. Is it better to have the woman that puts on the really romantic dates, is really good with big gestures, but the day-to-day, it just ain't there? Or the woman who, she ain't flying you out to Dubai no time soon, but she does it right every day. She does it consistent.
Consistency is always the best.
Okay. So we need to reward this team because you won one really big game. Forget everything else. We just need that one big game to matter. If that's the case, why is USC not ranked? If that's the case, USC got to win over LSU. It's a big win. Oh, what's that? They've consistently been bad? Okay, then. Who you are on a consistent basis has to matter. If you're up and you're down, if you're, I know I quote a lot of black music, but in the words of Katy Perry, if you're hot, then you're cold. If you're yes, then you're no. If you're in, then you're out. If you're up, then you're down. How can we say you're a playoff team? Come on now. And listen, I know my grandma listening to this, and I know she probably go call me screaming at me about her tie after that. I'm sorry, Granny. I still love you. But I can't rock with the tie getting into the playoff.
I understand that. Well, we're gonna ask the question. Why aren't we talking about Indiana more? Because they have an opportunity to help the Big Ten get 4 teams in. We're going to talk about that and a little bit more here on the 3-Point Stance.
And folks, I told y'all earlier that our good friend Zach Blackerby is out, and it's ironic that his name starts with Z, and yet he didn't take his Z-Biotics. Z-Biotic free alcohol drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this product, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly and feel your best tomorrow. Let me tell you something. Homecoming season is upon us, and I know a lot of y'all were acting a foolio off the Julio, or you're still planning to coming up in the future. You better get you some Z-Biotic. Don't play around. Do not play around. With Z-Biotic, you can conquer all of the Monday morning or Sunday morning blues. Again, for best results, drink pre-alcohol, drink responsibly, and enjoy tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to earn 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout.
And thanks again for making 3-Point Stands your first listen every single day. Kenton, we've got to ask the question, are we not talking about Indiana enough? Have we completely overlooked one of the best and most fascinating stories in college football? And I asked that question for this one reason. Right now, Indiana is ranked 8th. When the college football playoff first rankings drop, I don't expect them to be 8th. I expect them to be like 5th. And I say that specifically because they have won every single game by double digits. Kenton, why aren't we talking about Indiana more? Why aren't we giving them more respect?
So the reason why they're not getting more respect, and this is why I say in the SEC, it apparently just means more, because their schedule so far, people look at it as a joke. Yes, you have whooped the wheels off of every team you've played, but the reality is there is a world where Indiana does, well, actually not there is a world. We live in this world. We live here right now. One of two things is going to happen. We're going to see a 12-0, number 1 and number 2 Indiana, or we will see an 11-1 Indiana that has not beaten a single team that will be ranked inside the RPI top 40 at the end of the season. I mean, that's the reality. And it's not fair to Indiana because at the end of the day, all you can do is play who they put in front of you. That's all, and that's it. However, the argument is, well, your schedule is tantamount to a G5 schedule because honestly speaking here, I'm going to just name teams who could potentially be it. Who is their best win right now? Is it Washington? Is it Michigan State?
It's probably Washington.
Is it Nebraska? But you get my point? Like,
I do. Washington
is your best win. That's kind of a tough thing for people to manage. But again, credit to SIG, credit to the staff. They have done. You can only play the teams that are in front of you. And for those of you who know me, know if I'm anything, I try my hardest to be consistent. When UCF was running the table, whooping the wheels off folks. Whooping the wheels off folks. What was I saying that entire time? They need a shot at the playoff. They deserve a shot at the national championship. They've shown you what more can a team do than win each game by 20-some points. So if they find a way to upset Ohio State in the shoe, they will then get every bit of national respect they deserve. But damn it, I think they deserve national respect outside of that game. I think that beating every team by this much, 18 to 22-year-olds being this consistent for this long. Wait, I forgot. I'm sorry. We got red shirt, gray shirt, medical. 18 to 28-year-olds now because Cam Rising and whatnot, doing all of what they're doing, being consistent every single game, deserves some love.
No, I 100% agree. And that's the thing that makes this entirely interesting is because if Indiana can go undefeated or only have one loss, and that being to Ohio State, they still have a chance of playing the conference championship. Oregon so far is in a beeline to the conference championship game. As long as they win out like we are expecting them to, they are head and shoulders considered the best team in college football. But for Indiana, that Ohio State game and Michigan game, these back-to-back games are going to be huge in us determining, okay, even though Michigan is technically down because of all the players and staffing that they lost, this is the opportunity for Indiana to prove to us, okay, they can handle some of the big boys because regardless, Michigan still has a team full of blue chip players. Ohio State has one of the highest blue chip ratios in college football right now. Indiana's going to have to at least be competitive against Ohio State. I guess to ask this question, if they are competitive and that game is a field goal, similar to the Penn State game where Penn State lost by a touchdown to Ohio State, if it's like a field goal type game, do you see Indiana even dropping very far in the rankings? Or is that kind of a point to they should still deserve respect because they were able to be competitive against a really good Ohio State team?
I highly doubt that they drop more than 1 or 2 spots if that game is a field goal game. And I'll tell you what, even if they get blew out, I doubt that they drop more than 4 to 5, maybe. 4 to 5, maybe, and they still will end up in that top 12 range. Because again, what precedent are you setting to say, hey, you've played your schedule the best you could play it, and we are going to punish you so severely for one loss that your one loss means more than you're now in a conversation with Bama who lost a quarter of their schedule. Like, what? What? 1 out of every 4 times you walked on the field, you walked off holding a big fat L, and we need to discuss you in the same category as a team who lost once? What? Again, I get it. Their schedule and their road is easier. I get it, right? You're not exactly going to follow anybody down the toughest road when you look at Indiana's schedule. Absolutely, but that's still a Power 4 conference schedule. And mind you, that's one of the big boys' conference schedule. Indiana didn't control that. They didn't say, y'all better leave Penn State off my schedule. Y'all better make Michigan be bad this year. Michigan was ranked in the top 10 coming into the season, yay or nay?
Yay.
Washington was ranked coming into the season, yay or nay?
Yay.
So what are they supposed to do? People believed in Nebraska early in the season. I believe they were ranked after they beat Colorado. I could be wrong.
I think so. I think they
Not
were,
sure.
yes.
But have you got – so what the hell are they supposed to do? Is it their fault that Minnie Mahomes has a mini meltdown every time his receivers aren't open? What is Indiana supposed to do? Prop their opponents up? And is Sig supposed to coach up the other coaches? Hey, this is how you win now. Just so I look good, this is what you do. Hey, out there in Maryland, big dog, this is what you do. You know, you got Under Armour behind you. You need to use that to your event. What is he supposed to do?
No, you know, and that's the argument now. So for Indiana, we need to see them win out, or they need to win out if they want to get the respect. So we'll talk more about them as well as looking at who else we should be asking questions about going into the final week, and can the Big Ten finish with 4 teams in the playoffs on the next episode of the 3 Point Stance. Thank y'all for pulling up. For Kenton, Gibbs, and Zach Blackerby, I am Jay Smith. For your next listen, check out Spencer McLaughlin over there at Locked on College Football. Great content and everything. But we will talk to all of you tomorrow, and we'll figure out which undefeated goes down here on the 3 Point Stance.
Indiana, we love you, baby.